little help with lab 2.6 tic-tac-toe. Really quick, just going to scroll on to the bottom where we're going to create the tic-tac-toe game. And so you can see here we're going to use, we're going to make a tic-tac-toe game using a list. So instead of actually drawing the board, we're just going to use a list of the numbers 1 through 9. And then for this lab, we're just going to build one turn of the game, or one turn of the game. So basically the way it's going to work is we're going to have a list with the numbers 1 through 9. We're going to allow the user to pick a location, and then we are going to change that location so it now has an X. So just like someone was drawing an X on a tic-tac-toe board. And that's going to be it for this lab. So pretty simple. Again, tic-tac-toe board, a list of numbers 1 through 9 that represent the spaces on that tic-tac-toe board. And we're going to ask the user to pick a place on that board and replace it with an X. So let's go ahead and do that. And really simple. So we're going to create the board. The board is just going to be a list. So we're going to write, or just make a variable. I'm going to call it board. And then we're going to make a list using those little brackets. And then inside those that list, we are going to go ahead and put the numbers 1 through 9 to represent the spaces of the board. 6, 7, 8, and 9. So these will be our 9 spaces on our tic-tac-toe board. I'll go ahead and make the font a little bigger. There we go. So there's our 9 spaces. And then all we want to do is we want to ask the user, or let's do this. So if we're actually making a tic-tac-toe game, the first thing we might want to do is print out the board. So we'll print out the board and say, yeah, we'll just print out the board. So that way they can see that. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to ask the person where they would like to put their piece. So we could do something like print, where would you like to place your X? Actually, nix this. We're not going to print it because we need that information. So we're actually going to use the input. So maybe we'll put this in a variable called place equals input. Where would you like to place your X? That works. So we'll ask the person where they would like to place their X, and then all we need to do is we need to update that location on the board with an X. So if they pick 4, we want to replace 4 with an X. So it should be very simple. The first thing we want to do is we can see the way that we set up our list. It's all numbers. Remember, input always returns a string. So if we're asking the person to pick one of those numbers to replace with an X, the first thing we might want to do is we might want to just convert that string to an integer. So we can do that right there where we declare the variable. We'll convert that input to an integer. And then we want to update the place of the board on the to have an X. So there's actually a couple ways we could do this. We're going to run into a problem right away if we just went something like this. If we tried to do board, and then we did board place equals X, right? So this would be the board. This would be the location that we want to turn into an X in the list board. But if we run this, we'll notice right off the bat that there's a problem. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Where would you like to place your X? Well, let's say I want to place it at a 3. I hit that, and one more thing. We need to print out the board so we can see it after it's been updated. Let's try that again. Where would you like to place your X? I want to place it at 3. I type in 3, and you'll notice number 4 turned into an X. What's happening here? If we remember correctly, our lists are 0 indexed. So this number 1 is actually at index 0 in my list. The number 2 is actually at index 1. The number 3 is at index 2. The number 4 is at index 3, all the way up to the number 8, which is stored at index 8. So if I actually want to update, let's say, place number 3, or I want to update number 3 and turn it to an X, that's actually at index 0, 1, 2. So there's a couple ways we could do this, but probably the easiest way is if my board is just numbered 1 through 9, well, then I know that, say, number 3 is actually at index 2, 0, 1, 2. So all I could do is take the place and subtract 1 from it. And I could do that for every number, and I would get index because number 1 is at index 0, number 2 is at index 1. So this is a great easy way just to replace that. So now if we run it again, and I type in 3, now I'm actually replacing 3 with an x. So that's our tic-tac-toe, and that's pretty simple for lab 2.6.